What's up, everybody? Clint Fauché here, and
I'm Albert Chavez.
And today, guys, look, we have an up-and-comer coming fresh off his UFC debut with a huge dub, Santa Ana's own Danny El PUMA Silva. Thank you for coming out. No, you just had a fight a couple of days ago. You said you beat up, but bro, you're looking fresh. You didn't even need the sunglasses. You got the regular reading glasses on. Look at him. Look at him. I see you. So, let's hop into it. I know you're from Santa Ana. What does it mean to you to kind of put the city on your back in such a high level with being in the UFC? How does that?
Thank you guys for having me.
Got right into it.
But yes, it means a lot. You know, I feel like people from Santa Ana are very prideful. And I feel like a lot of us know how to fight. It's just a lot of us self-sabotage ourselves. And it's hard to get opportunities like this and to stay on the path. And I'm just kind of trying to show them like, hey, there's more to it than just Santa Ana. You gotta achieve a lot, to get out of there. So it's a big weight that I carry on my back, but I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, it's a big city, but it seems like you can kind of get trapped in this bubble too, especially in the Latino culture too. They're very close knit.
Yeah.
So was that something that you kind of felt with as early on, like feeling like you can still be close, but also branch out from like the norm?
Yeah, I need to accept everything that it comes with my life. Like whether it's I've been affiliated with gang members or been affiliated with like other people, and I just need to accept the dark parts too, and not get consumed by them, and I need to show that to everybody else, like other training partners that I have from there, and they need to just see, kind of like Cub Swanson, he's another guy that comes from a similar situation like Palm Springs, Coachella Valley, and he's helped me out a lot.
Yeah, it's always good to have somebody that's kind of been there, especially younger in your career. And I can see already the maturity of like, it's kind of, you know how they say that some people just have an old spirit about themselves. Like you can just tell like they were sent or put on this earth to be something bigger. And you can feel that presence even from the social media side of it, just so that we know there wasn't no clout jumping on because you got the dub. Because we reached, I reached out to you because I kind of saw your energy and vibe and kind of what you were doing and kind of wanted to align, because I think that's big to show. Like I said, my kids are from Santa Ana, and so it's always good to show them something bigger outside of just what they see in day to day, and that, bigger things are possible, and the sky's the limit no matter where you're from when you do the right things and you work hard. So, you got much respect for me for that.
Yeah. So growing up in the area, were you always wanting to be a fighter, or is that, you said like, like everyone knows how to fight. Was that something that you grew up around, like with your brothers and sisters, family and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I come from a family of boxers.
Okay.
I grew up boxing since I was a kid, and they used to make me box my cousins when I was a kid. And like, no, legit, like they would bet money.
Yeah, I knew what you were saying without. I'm from the hood, so I knew what you were saying without knowing what you were saying.
So they would put us in the backyard, and my uncle would come, and then my brother would come out, and like they would train us just so we could fight each other.
Oh my God.
And it would be bare knuckles too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they're too young to hurt each other. And no, we would hurt each other. And I was afraid of my cousin when I was growing up, just because I felt like he was a mini Mike Tyson. He would put a whooping on me, and I was like, man. And my brother would be so disappointed in me, and I'll be like, man, I'm so sorry. And he'll be like, no, you need to train harder. And like, he'll like whoop my ass just because I was like, man, I can't do it. They're like, you better learn. So like, stop closing your eyes. And I'm like, I can't. It's scary. But it just, that's the way I was raised. And they made me really face my fears. And everybody had a similar story in Santa Ana like that. I feel like that's just kind of a big brand of Santa Ana, is just being really resilient and tough. And, you know, it's like the hood place of Orange County, you know?
Yeah.
It's really like the capital of just, it kind of holds it down for everybody.
Yeah, and I feel like the culture, for me, that's always been one of my admirations for Santa Ana and the Latina culture as a whole is the heart and the
pride.
The pride and purity of, and the loyalty.
Yeah.
Because to me, you know, I say this all the time, loyalty to me is everything. And so that's one of the things I've always kind of admired. And it's funny you say that, because I raised my brother, I'm 12, 13 years, and we used to do the same thing, except we used to put them, it was a funny thing, we used to put them in a tent and zip the tent up and be like, whoever gets out of here first, $20. And we would be betting like, hey, I bet, and they would be, they would literally, it was like fighting, like scrapping in there, trying to get outside of the tent. Yeah. So it wasn't just a fight, but you also were in the dark because you were trying to get out of
dragging each other.
Yeah, it was the tent sliding around. People were driving by like, what the hell's wrong with this tent? What are they over there doing? Yeah. So I can relate. That's why when you said no, like we were really fun, I'm like, yeah, believe me, I know kind of what the vibe is. So growing up, I kind of know you was boxing, or when did you know from boxing to MMA that you wanted to make kind of that switch? Did you want to do boxing, or was MMA a thing, or what made you make that choice?
MMA didn't come into my life until I was 19.
Yeah.
I started wrestling when I was 8 because of my older brothers. Like my older brother, Juan Silva, he was ranked 2nd in the state, and he went to Santa Ana High School, and he was ranked 15 in the nation. Really good wrestler, and I started wrestling because of him. But my heart was always set on boxing, and I wanted to do it. It's just, you know, a single mother. It was really hard for her to constantly keep taking me and then paying for it. So I would figure it out on my own, and I would go to the boxing gym. But once I got to high school, I was like, man, I just rather keep wrestling. You know, it's too much of a hassle to go all the way. Like I would have to run 7 miles just to get to the boxing gym, and then at night my mom would pick me up. So I was like, it's too much of a work, like too much hassle for me to try to continue boxing. And then once I graduated, I was like, maybe I could try it. Found a boxing coach, and he turned out not to be a really legit boxing coach. And he made me cut weight really for no reason, and that kind of pissed me off, because I was used to cutting weight from wrestling, and I felt like I suffered for no reason, and so I just like felt disappointed, left, and I went to a gym called Tomaselli's Academy.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
And I was like, I'm just gonna do jiu-jitsu and like compete, and maybe that would scratch my itch.
Yeah.
You know, like I was already kind of done with it. And then he invited me to spar on a Friday, and then Marco Huas was gonna be there.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Marco Huas was in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and he put me up against like the best guys there, and I put it on all of them.
Yeah.
And he slapped me. Marco slapped me like right in my chest, and I was like, what the heck? It was like his hand was huge.
Yeah.
And he told me, so like, come next Friday, and big old deep voice. I was like, all right. I was like, I'm not trying to be a fighter, dude. I was like, I was just coming to do jiu-jitsu. I came just to spar a little bit. And I was like, I was like, all right, I'll come next Friday. And then Kami, he was a Cubs manager. He passed away, but he became my manager as well. He came up to me. He asked me, so like, do you want to fight? And I'm like, no. He's all like, well, Marco says that you have a lot of talent. He's all like, what do you know how to do? And I'm like, I grew up boxing and wrestling, but I don't want to fight. And he's all like, well, I think you should fight. He's all like, I could get you a fight in 3 months, an amateur fight. And I was like, all right. At that point, I was like, you're really kind of poking me. I'm not gonna say no to a fight now.
Yeah.
So I said yes. He gets me a contract, win a belt as an amateur, and then we decided to go pro. And that's really how it started for me. And, you know, he introduced me to Cub, introduced me to Juan Archuleta, you know, Dan Argueta, Rafa Garcia. Like, I started training with all these guys, and I realized that I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of good at this.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't boxing that was meant for me. Maybe it's MMA, and that's how I saw it. I was like, I really tried doing boxing, but MMA really ran into my path, and it's like, hey, I think you should do this. And I was like, all right, I guess I will.
Yeah. So does your brother take credit and see seafood? This is what I was trying to teach you when you were a kid.
Yeah, they take credit. They take credit.
I already knew. Seafood, I told you, get out there and quit closing your eyes. See now what you got. I knew.
They take a lot of credit. Even though they didn't like teach me later on, but it was the values of when I was a kid of being like you need to be like, you can't be scared.
You literally have to put yourself in
that fear.
Yeah.
You know, because I had a big habit of closing my eyes when I was a kid when I would fight.
Yeah.
Like anybody that I fought as a kid, I would close my eyes, and it's because I didn't want to get hit. But he was so mad at me all the time. Like, he would take out his belt and he'd be like, stop closing your eyes. And I'll be like, I can't.
Fool, if I could, I would. I ain't trying to get that belt.
I was like, I'm trying to open them, but I'm just too scared.
Yeah.
But eventually it went away, and man, it took a lot of beatings. It took a lot of beatings for me to like face that fear. And, you know, now I think I'm probably one of like the most like fearless type of fighters. You know, like I'm willing to get hit and take a few of them, and as long as I can hit you once.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just the way I fight now. And it's definitely because of them.
So when you started boxing, how old were you when you started boxing?
4.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that like legit boxing, or that was in the backyard?
No, well, it was with my uncles and my brothers.
Where do they have a place, or they?
No, they didn't have a place.
They were just showing.
We have a built-in boxing kind of gym in our house.
Okay.
So we had everything. Yeah, and I
might have to get I told you my son's trying to start training. He's over there. He's got that Santa Ana pride mix. He's got them Santa Ana boxing hands mixed with that backwood Alabama. I don't close my eyes. See, that's my problem. That's my problem. Everybody's like, oh, do you have movement? Dude, I'm like the white. I'm the typical Caucasian fighter. I'm like Rocky. I just keep walking. I remember my second amateur MMA fight. The dude was like a black belt in Taekwondo.
Damn.
And he kicked me so hard in my head. At the time, I didn't realize. Afterwards, watching the video, it sounded like, I don't know how my skull didn't back.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, it sounded like a bat. But I could see in his face.
Yeah.
When he kicked me, and I was just like, and I grew up the same way. Like, I grew up in a prison household. So like, there was no, I got beat. If I didn't, like, when we were growing up, I still remember, and my mom was the nice one. My uncle was the one that, like, if we came home and we were like, hey, somebody did something to us. Oh, did you fight them?
Did you do something?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I tell him, it's funny because I was in kindergarten. I remember I got in trouble one time, but the older kids would pay me in donuts. We had a 7-Eleven on the corner store, and they used to get donuts. They were probably 25 cents, and they'd be like, hey, man, you go slap that dude in the face right now, I'll get you a donut. So I grew up. That's probably why I still like Krispy Kremes to this day.
It's got that
reward.
Yeah, the reward. So yeah, I but my son is fixing to start training, but I'm like I said, I'm kind of it's a gift and a curse, because it's like he's talented and athletic. But then again, when you start talking about weight cuts and all of the extra stuff, but the the good thing is he's named after Furel.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things he would be around. You know, he already told me I can't be his coach. I said, okay, bro, I didn't want to be your coach anyway. So he said RDA was going to be his coach. And I'm like, okay, bro, whatever. I didn't want to be your coach anyway. So I'm curious to see kind of how that turns out. So going into teams, you are blessed on this one, man. Getting ready for your UFC debut. Let's just name off. You got OGs, like OGs. You got GBHQ, Philippe Furel de la Monica, that I love so much. I named my youngest son after. You got Juggernaut Training, Chad Wesley Smith, who we've had on, Savage.
He's a beast.
Cub Swanson, Dan Arguletta, Dan the Determined, Straight Savage. I love that guy. Do you feel like that gives you an advantage going into this first fight?
Of course, I feel like I've been surrounded by, if not the best, damn close to the best, you know, and in the world. And I've trained with all of them, and you know, they've kicked my ass when I was younger, when I was 19, when I started training with them. And you know, I've been able to close the gap a lot, and I'm still learning from them. You know, and like Felipe, is the most jiu-jitsu I've ever done consistently. And like, I was so proud of myself when I jumped into that guillotine, you know. And with Chad, I mean, people could tell how much bigger I am now. Yeah. And it's just because I've been doing everything that he tells me to do, following his schedule. And with Cub, you know, I feel confident all the time when he's in my corner. He wraps my hands. I don't feel stressed, you know, and if I do, I talk to him about it. He's able to like really make me focus on what's important, you know, like he don't even want me to concern myself about my opponents. It's really just about me. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the biggest parts. And then with Dan, we basically debuted together as professionals, and we've been challenging each other like since the beginning. And it's a blessing, you know, because we make each other better. Yeah. And that's what I think what true friendship and being a teammate means.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's one of those things that I always say, and not to get biblical, God always has a plan and a purpose. And I think you hit the nail on the head with something when you said you've always been lined up with the best. And that's where I say I can tell, even from the few minutes like watching your social media and then meeting you in person, you can just tell that God puts people in certain paths for certain reasons. And you can tell that you're doing the right things, and you can tell that he's guiding you down this path by putting these people in your path because you have a bigger purpose. And the energy is super overwhelming, the good energy from you. So
yeah, it seems like, especially with all those guys in your corner, it kind of preps you for that fight. So I know I'm curious, especially and a lot of other people are too, about your debut. What are you feeling when you're getting in the like not just an octagon, but the octagon, the UFC, like when you're there?
It's funny because when Bisbee and Dominic Cruz were asking me that, like, you know, you're debuting and for the UFC under their lights, and, you know, you must be nervous. And I'm like, I'm not, you know, because I already fought here in the Contenders. Yeah, true. You know, right. Like, to me, it's the same cage. It's just maybe just 50 more people, you know, compared to the Contenders, because it's a small arena, really, the Apex, and you could hear everything. And I was like, I'm not nervous about it. The only thing that I was nervous was about my opponent when they first offered him to me, because he's such a veteran, you know, and he's ranked up there. He's like the 30th guy, best fighter in the world, and you know, I was barely ranked in the 130th, you know, and I was like, man, for my first test, that's that was something for me to be nervous about. And then immediately I was like, okay, well, I asked to be tested, so this is what I asked for, so I'm willing to take it. So I immediately converted into being excited to get in there and test myself. So not too much nerves, you know, just I feel like I've been there many times.
And for first opponent,
yeah,
that's legit. Yeah.
Oh, bro, you're talking about heavy hands. That was like going into it. It wasn't, you know, gonna be a dry humping match. You know, nothing against grapplers or takedown guys, but like the first thing I said, like when my girl was asking me about, she was like, "Oh, well, what do you think?" I was like, it's going to be a brawl. I feel like, and I felt like your movement was better before the fight. You know, in the fight, I definitely thought it was better, but like, so I kind of had you winning the fight. If I did not, I'm brutally honest, I'd be like, bro, I thought you was going to get knocked out, but you stunted on him. But I definitely had you getting the dub. And so with that being said, there were no nerves, but when the decision got ready and I could see kind of both guys, I felt like you won it, but it's always weird when it goes to a decision because
split, you know.
Yeah.
It could
and
be
I was like, what?
Yeah, it could be, or it can really go either way because you never really know. And that's one of the things I've harped kind of on the UFC about is the judging consistently. Like, what are we judging on? Like, what? Give us at least some sort of ground rule. Like some sort of criteria. Like, if it's takedowns, tell me what, like, we need to have some sort of clarification. But that'll be a rant for a different day.
Yeah.
With that being said, what was going through your head when they were getting ready to call out the decision?
It's funny. I was telling everybody that I had a dream like 2 or 3 weeks before my fight, and my dreams, what I dreamt was I lost a split decision. Ooh. And everybody was like, no, man, you won that fight. I can't believe you lost a split decision. It's still good. You know, you fought a really good opponent. That's what they were telling me in my dream.
In the dream, yeah.
And when I heard the other judge call his name, and I was like, wait, what? I'm like, oh. Immediately I put my head down. I was like, I lost. Because I had dreamt about it, and I was like, I lost. And I was like, this is BS. I was like, I for sure won at least 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed, and then they said my name, and I was like,
you shook.
I was like, oh, I won. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, yeah, that dream was BS.
See, what had happened was, so yeah, it was funny because when they were getting ready to read off, he was trying to front, and I don't know why when the decision gets ready to be, I don't know why people start trying to go like this, like they think that's gonna sway.
That's his character.
Yeah, I don't know why people, but when people get up there, I'm like, bro, they've already handed in the card. You're not gonna get them to change their mind because you're putting your, bro, stop the cap. But you could see in his eyes, and he was like, oh, I felt like I won. You could see in his eyes, he knew he lost the fight, even though he was like trying to act like, you know, again, I'm brutally honest. I thought you won the fight. I was glad you won the fight. And the judges got it right. It was going to be a riot if it wasn't. Luckily, I wasn't there because the Apex is a small arena.
I felt like more his fans saw him winning. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the more neutral people saw me winning.
Yeah.
You know, not just like people that are my fans, but more of the neutral people.
Fight fans. Yeah. Fans. Average fight fans.
Everybody was telling me once I got out, they're like, that's crazy. He's like, you won all 3, you know, like, or you won 2 for sure. They're like, that wasn't split, you know, and people were telling me that right off the bat. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, I thought I won at least 2. And I was like, I heard him right off the bat. I went for a submission. I took him down. I controlled him way longer. He had a lot of lateral movement, but he wasn't engaging too much. I was really trying to force the fight, and that's why I was lunging so much, and he was catching me. It's just because I was trying to force the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he wasn't even taking me down. Every time he shot, you know, I took his back, you know, like I was just going to that little duck under and take his back and you know, that's all belief.
That's why I said,
That's all belief.
look, when he said it, I was like, that's belief. Yeah.
And it's because I'm good at it. He's been telling me, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. He's all like, go into your front headlock, you know, go into your series. And that was like right off the bat, you know, I did all that.
You stuck to the playbook.
Yeah. You know, and I've always been pretty good at listening to my corner and the game plan. Obviously, I want the finish. You know, but it's, you know, that guy, he's one of the best.
And that guy is hard to. That guy is those Australians, bro. I don't know what it is in their genetics or DNA, but them dudes, man, it's hard to not.
Different too.
I don't know if it's them kangaroos they wrestle. You know, over there in Dakistan or whatever they say they wrestle bears. I don't know if they're wrestling them
boxing.
I don't know. I don't know if they're boxing them kangaroos or what they're doing over there in Australia. But man, those dudes.
Could you sense he was kind of uncomfortable with you? Because obviously this is your first time doing this, but were you getting him uncomfortable, which is why you kept pushing the boundaries a little bit more?
Yeah, I think they expected everything from me, like to be that guy that is like, I'll look at you the whole time and I'm gonna fight you, like I'm ready to go all the time, and I'll scream at you, I'll talk to you, I'll cuss at you. And I think that was, I think he tried to prepare for that, but he wasn't really prepared for it. And I think that's why he was trying to win by points and trying to stick and move as much as he could. But even in the third round, I felt like he crumbled pretty bad in the third round. I hit him with the knee and he came in, and I came in from southpaw and I threw a knee and I hit him. And then he shot like not that, like, and then I took his back right away. I felt like if there was 5 rounds, he would have definitely been broke.
Oh, 100%. I think one of the things that makes your upside, to me, the trajectory for you so high is, number one, the team, because all of the guys you have and now hanging with you, your spirit is very much Philippe. All of those guys are very Cub, are very mild-mannered, very calming,
very
relaxing, very methodical, all of those things. But like naturally coming from the boxing side of it, you've got the hands, you've got all of those things. But the jiu-jitsu side of it and the grappling side of it with Philippe, actually, it puts you, that's why the trajectory for you, and watching you even in this match compared to your others, the diversity of your grappling game is like key, like shooting up. So I only expect, you know, even bigger things from you going forward. No pressure. No pressure.
I'm only 27.
Yeah.
You know, I fought Josh Kulibao in his prime. You know, that was his prime. I still have 3 years to get into my prime, and I feel like that was barely my debut. You know, Ilia Toporia's his debut, he went into a hard decision too.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't, he wrestled the whole fight.
Yeah.
And so having a hard debut, I'm not that worried about it because I won and it was a good opponent.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm only improving still.
Yeah, definitely.
So where do you think you're gonna, like, is there, after this first one, is there somewhere that I know you're just fresh off of it, right? And like you have all this highs and stuff like that. You're talking about it. You're getting all this like promotion, marketing, and stuff like that. Where do you see yourself like wanting to go from here? Are you trying to get a fight as soon as possible, or are you just like kind of just getting back and like kind of enjoying the time with family?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing I thought about, is like, when am I gonna fight again? I want to fight at least 3 times a year. And especially now that I'm still young, I feel like my body could handle it. You know, I want to get to a point where I don't have to fight 3 times a year.
Yeah, exactly. Get on the other side of that.
So, even though I'm still young, my time is still limited, and this is where I can knock off a lot of fights. You know, and there's opponents where I feel like I would do really good against still right now. So I'd like to get in that Mexican card in September.
That'd be cool.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way it'd be really beneficial for like the hometown and stuff like that too.
What part of Mexico is your family from?
Michoacan.
Huge. Yeah, that's beautiful. So
really?
We were curious about this. What's your favorite restaurant coming out of here, like in Santa Ana, that you always go to, like post fight or like
no pressure for all those.
There's one that has recently became my favorite. It's called Bandido. It's a taqueria.
Yeah.
They have these kind of Tijuana style tacos.
Yeah.
So the tortilla is actually pink.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's downtown Santa Ana.
Okay.
We're asking because we're
gonna go.
Oh, dude, it's so good. They're al pastor. They put guacamole, the salsa. It's very, very Mexico. It tastes like you're in Mexico, and then it's not just like a street taco. It's really authentic. Yeah. It has good chile, good salsa. They have queso tacos.
Oh yeah, that's a new thing right now.
That's a new thing. Yeah, so they've been doing that, and I'm like,
my inner fat kid is over here. Like my stomach's like.
I recently tried Los Cholos Tacos. That place is amazing. I love that. So we went there twice this week. So it's fantastic. They make everything fresh. Like the barbecue pit is just going constantly.
I love all of that. I'm a huge breakfast coffee type guy. My buddy are you too?
I am too, but I'll have tacos too in the morning. But the coffee.
There's a spot though, a buddy of mine, Red Anaya, he owns a place, Cafe Cultura.
Oh, it's in downtown. Yeah,
bro. If you let me know next time, we're gonna. Man, we went last time, bro.
The chilaquiles and the churro waffles.
God.
Yeah.
But I have to be careful though, because my inner fat kid comes out, and then I start trying to eat literally
everything.
Everything. So, with that being said, wanting to get on the card in Mexico, has it hit you yet? Like, this is your UFC debut. Has it hit you yet? Like, you're like, hey, I am. Because I know everybody, it's crazy because once now you've been on TV, I'm sure everybody's jock riding and everybody's like, oh, can you sign my shirt? And I'm like, bro, you didn't ask me to sign your shirt the other week. Has it hit you yet that you are a certified UFC fighter?
Actually, no, because I feel like Cub has been prepping me for this moment. It's crazy. For a long time, for at least like 2 or 3 camps, he's been telling me, be prepared. He's all like, people are going to be doing this and that. And he's been mentally preparing me for it. So now when it happened, I was like, oh, yeah, it's not. He's all like, just smile and wave, you know, like kind of thing. You know, don't be rude. Just take it with a grain of salt and
don't put yourself in situations.
It is what it is. You know, like obviously my ego part and the deep down inside of me, I want to be like F you to everybody. But,
like hey, I was here before and now I'm still here.
I'm not. I can't be like that. I really don't let that take over, and I'm more happy. You know, I know people only like winners, but I'm not just trying to be a winner. I'm doing it for a lot of things, like my mom, you know, my future, you know, legacy. And that's the reason why I do stuff. I'm not trying to do it just so I could have people like me.
Yeah. Like, that's what I say. I know I keep harping on it, but you can tell, like, and I'm good at reading people. So I can tell you, and that's why, like, I ain't gonna call some UFC fighters out, but that's why some guys, doesn't matter for me, whether you're a big name or I tell RDA all this all the time, like, bro, it wouldn't matter to me if you sold used cars or what you were. Like, for me, it's about the person and your soul and what you're trying to do for the universe and for the world and putting good out there. And you can tell you have that vibe about you. So going back, wanting to fight on the card in Mexico, and not that we're putting you on the spot, do you have somebody? Is there anybody that you have in mind? Everybody says, hey, I'll take on anybody that they bring, and that's cool. Do you have somebody, and not that we're trying to put you on the spot, do you have somebody in mind that you would like, or you're like, hey, you know what? That would be a good fight for me. Do you have anybody in mind?
Yeah, I do. Damian Jackson. I feel like, you know, Dan debuted against him, and
That was a tough fight. Yeah.
he had I feel like Dan could have won that fight.
Yeah.
It was just he took it in short notice, and he was going up a weight class. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but it was a tough fight for him, you know, and you know, I would like to get that back for the team, and I feel like,
Is that personal?
oh yeah,
It was yeah.
I was like, yeah, it'll be personal for me. I feel like I will want to try to knock him out.
Yeah.
And I feel like his biggest strong suit would be his grappling, and I want to test my grappling with him. So I want to see if he could even take me down.
Yeah.
So
Well, you have Philippe in your corner too, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of
so
training there,
I'm already like preparing mentally. Hopefully I get that fight. But yeah, he's one of the fighters that I would like to fight.
Yeah, that'd be
fucking epic.
that would be a good fight. But I'll be honest with you, and not that I'm gonna gas you up. The trajectory on you, over the next couple of years, the team that you have set, and if you keep your mind, and like I said, I can tell when somebody's fake or phony. If you keep your mind the way that it's going, like the sky is like the limit for you. And I see big things from you.
Yeah, and like as you keep developing like your own style, was there someone like, and you have all these great teammates with you, is there a certain style that you grew up watching to emulate, like a certain MMA fighter
or a fighter
that you loved?
Not really MMA, you know, like it was mainly boxing. I watch every single boxer, you know, like I grew up watching Oscar mainly. But my mom used to make me watch like Salvador Sanchez, like really old school boxers, and Chavez. So it was really having that pressure forward type of style, but being able to lateral move, head movements. Like, yeah, everybody could be like a Floyd Mayweather and go backwards and slip and wait, but can you do it going forward? Can you slip going forward and cut angles? And I'm like, that's really the hard part. And because that's when people miss, and then you're able to counter. So you know, it's something that I watching, you know, like Teofimo Lopez, guys like that do it, you know, and Cub has been really like, hey, you're a good counter puncher. Just force people to shoot at you, force people to throw punches at you, and just make them miss. You know, he's like, you can make them miss all the time, so you just have to capitalize. And it's just something we've been kind of working on.
So growing up, is your mom a big boxing fan?
Dude, my mom she fought everybody.
She's some gangster.
Before I even asked it, I already knew the answer. I could tell your mom was an OG whenever you said.
She's so tough. It's like I saw her get in so many fights with like some cholas or just people that would like pick on her, and she bit some girl's eyebrow off.
She's watching a lot of Mike Tyson.
Dude, it was brutal. Like she's
about that life.
Yeah, she's about it. And she was always like, if anybody picked on me, she would whoop my ass if I didn't do anything about it.
That's how, same.
Like one of my friends one time when I was a kid, we were just playing around and he pulled my backpack and I fell. She put a whooping on me. She's like, don't ever let your friend just play around like that.
So if you do, like, they better feel you.
Yeah. She's all, and I'm like, we were just playing. And then she's all like, I don't care. Nobody does that to my son. And then I was like, all right. She's tough, and she grew up in a really hard part of Mexico, and where they're from in Michoacan, everybody got in fights, and it was always trying to show who was like the toughest. And even with like she has 3 older brothers, or 3 brothers, and she's the second oldest. And so she had to fight for them a lot of the times, and then, you know, because they were too young or they were like
not good fighters,
not that good of fighters. Like I have an uncle that he thinks he knows karate, and
you don't know anything.
he's a crazy street fighter. Don't get me wrong, he would do some crazy stuff, but he don't know how to fight. He don't know how to fight. But
I've got one of my kids that she's the finesser. She's the businesswoman. Savannah is the businesswoman. She's definitely not not the fighter.
the
Now
top
my
guy.
youngest, she's only 2,
She's already.
but she's about that life. The other kids are scared of her.
You could tell right away. It's
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
Their personality, yeah.
like their personality right off the bat. You know, I didn't have it as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I saw my other cousins have it,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, it has to be my uncle. You know, their dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, because he's very like, you know, like F this, F that. He's like, if somebody looks at me, I fight him. You know,
Yeah.
and they all picked up on it, and they loved it, and I couldn't pick up on it. I was like, no, I was like, why do I need to fight that dude? I was like, I don't need to fight that dude. And I think that's why I became the way I am, because it took a lot of courage for me as a kid, you know, to do stuff, and it wasn't in my nature, but I could fight aggressively, but being mindful at the same time. You know, and when they fight, it's all just aggression and like almost going blind.
Right.
Chaos.
Yeah, it's all chaos.
Yeah.
And me, I could be mad, but I'm still there. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not really letting my emotions get to me. And people think that I fight with a lot of anger, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty mellow in there. I'm like, I'm calm, and I'll talk smack. But who talks smack while they're, you know, angry? Normally they're just going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I developed because of the type of personality that I had as a kid, you know.
Yeah, and you can tell
Yeah.
which one. That's why I said, like, I've got 2 sons. My oldest son is very athletic. He just doesn't have that dog in him. Now, my youngest son, and like I said, maybe it's that Santa Ana bloodline, that Acapulco bloodline. Yeah, but man, dude, and it's similar to what you like. I can see the similarities between what you're saying about you and him, because he's the nicest, sweetest kid in the
But
world.
if you poke at him, he will snap.
Yeah.
Look, he's laughing because he
Yeah.
knows it's the truth. He is the type of kid that he'll be like, just out of nowhere, Dad, I just want to tell you I love you. He'll go to his teacher, like we'll go, hey, Miss Johnson, you look beautiful today. And not because he's saying it like he's trying to finesse her to get an extra juice or something.
He just says what he means.
He just is very kind-hearted and loving and whatever. But boy, if you play with his sisters, there was this girl at the park and she was messing with my younger daughter, and the brother came over there. Oh, bro, he was standing up. He stood like he was security, just waiting for them
to make a wrong move.
Oh, yeah,
It's
just
like-
waiting. He's like, that's my sister. Don't touch her.
Don't touch her.
Like but he's not like that aggressive, like I just want to be mean and fight. It's more so like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm about mine and I'm not gonna let anybody mess with that. So, all right, this last question, we're going to cap it off. And this is going to be a deep one, so I want you to think about it before you answer. That's fine. You're coming off a major win. You know, you've done a lot of things so far that you set out to accomplish. Now, keep in mind, you still have the sky's the limit. And like I said, I mean, again, no pressure from your boy, but I'm going to be on your head now because I see big things for you. And not just with fighting, but in life. You have a very positive energy about you. But let me ask you this. If today was your last day and they said, hey, you know what? You're not going to make it past today. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be remembered as? And that's a deep one. So take a second if you need it.
Really just as a believer, you know, somebody that I would hope that people, you know, see my life and be like, man, if you really believe in yourself, you could accomplish a lot. And that's really, I would be okay. If I passed away today, I would be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be okay with that because other than Gilbert Melendez, you know, there hasn't been another Santa Ana fighter to do it. And, you know, I'm not just doing it for them, but it's really for a lot of kids that had similar situations like me, you know, and I know how hard it is having a single mother and feeling helpless, you know, like you can't do a lot. So I feel like as long as they use that and channel it into something positive, they could do and they could accomplish a lot. So if they could see anything about my life as like hope, then that's what it would be.
Well, I'll say this, and again, I'm brutally honest. You got a believer in me. You've got an excellent team, but bigger than that, you've got a big heart and spirit about you, and that goes beyond. I can sense that beyond fighting. You want to put out and do good. And so you got a believer in me, and in anything that I can do to help you out or anything you ever need. I'm here for you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for stopping by. Especially just like a young man too. Like, you know, I'm 25, about the same age, right? Just in the early development of like who you are as a person is really cool to see, because again, you're a local legend. You've gone through it. You've done all the steps that have been right, and now you're reaping the rewards. Just believing in yourself is huge, because then I see it, other people our age will see it, and just reap the rewards of like of where it will go for your city, for your family, for your friends, and everyone else is just going to benefit from it.
And bigger for that, something you said earlier, the legacy that you'll pass down.
Right.
Yeah. Not that I'm putting pressure on you to have kids, but the legacy that you'll pass down to, you know, nieces, nephews, your community, and when you do have kids, it has a bigger effect. And so I'm proud of you coming from and doing the things that you're doing.
Yeah, it's just one thing that I've always, well, my mom told me this too when I was young, but she said, if you want God to help you, you need to help yourself. Mm-hmm. And every time I've always felt like I'm afraid of something, it's when I feel like that's the time that you need to jump, you know, like it's scary trying to fight for your dreams, you know, like you don't literally have to fight, but anything that you do, it's scary to go out of that little bubble and the comfort part. And a lot of people don't understand, and they just rather like deny it. So, you just, whenever you feel like that, you just got to jump. Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, God's got you. Like I can feel, and again, I'm not trying to harp on the biblical, but you could feel God has you and has a bigger plan and a bigger purpose for you. And I'm excited to see where that goes. Guys, we're going to sign off. If you don't already, go follow Danny El Puma Silva. Big things to come. You better follow him now. Don't try to get on the train whenever he starts popping off, because he will eventually be, and we got a long way to go, but he will eventually be and new. Don't be trying to jump on the train then, because I'm going to call you out. You know I keep it 100. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you guys soon.